Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Zoids review. This time we're going to be reviewing another kit in the Takara Tomy T-Spark Realize Model series, and it is the Command Wolf. You guys know I'm a huge fan of the Command Wolf. I've tried to do a pretty comprehensive video on the Command Wolf in terms of lore and comparing the different versions together. And I have now, yet again, a new version to compare to the others. And unfortunately, I still do not have the Mahler Spirit Series Command Wolf because this comparison is pretty incomplete without that. But maybe one day I'll be able to get that, and I do have one of the Mahler Spirit Series Zoids to do a comparison with for the sake of talking about the scale of these guys. But you also may notice that the lighting is a little bit weird in this video, and it's because with the other set lights that I have, it just totally washed out the white on this guy and made it to where you couldn't see a lot of the details, and it reflected back at the camera a lot and caused the camera to lose focus on the Command Wolf. So I feel like this looks better because one of the things you will notice about the realized model Command Wolf is it is a very, very brilliant, bright white, which I think is pretty cool. So I like this guy quite a bit, as you might expect from the review of the Hellcat. And it has a lot of the same design sensibilities, which I do like. But how does it hold up next to the HMM version? And what does it do better than the original wind-up version from the Japanese Takara Tomy line? Now, we never got a white Command Wolf like this in the wind-up version in the US. We only got the blue Command Wolf AC as part of the wind-up Hasbro line. And we also did get a Irvine Command Wolf. And I forgot to mention in the previous video with the Hellcat first talking about this line, we also are getting a realized model version of the Irvine Command Wolf as well. So look forward to that. That's one of the first times we've been able to have his Command Wolf in a while. There is an HMM version of it, but that one will likely never be made again because it's never really been fully confirmed as far as I can tell, but it's my pet theory that the Takara Tomy HMM line does not have the rights to use the anime characters. So that's why we haven't seen a reissue of the Irvine Command Wolf or the Schubalt's Saber Tiger, and why they had to do new box art for things like the Liger Zero to kind of make it generic and remove any mentioning of the anime characters from those products. So the Realized Model Kit series and also the AZ Advanced Z line also has access to the anime characters, which we'll talk about. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of a comparison. So for the sake of scale, we're going to start small and go up here. So this is the Modeler Spirit Series Godos. I do not have the Modeler Spirit Series Command Wolf, as I said, but this guy is 1 in 144th scale for what the real thing would be in real life if it were real, and or to a person, I suppose. And this, of course, is the Realize Model Kit Command Wolf, which we've already established, and it is 1 in 100th scale. This is the Japanese Takara Tomy 1999 wind-up Command Wolf, and it is 1 in 72nd scale. And then finally we have the Kotobukiya HMM Command Wolf, which is also in 1/72nd scale. So this lineup is pretty cool here, and it illustrates a lot of the major distinct differences here. So as you can see, my changing in the lighting was pretty justified when you look at just how bright and brilliant that white is on the realized model version. And I don't think that is because the white is starting to yellow here on the HMM. I don't think it is. Let me know if you guys have had any issues with the Command Wolf HMM yellowing, because I know that is a pretty prevalent issue in like the Transformers community, for instance, with white plastic yellowing. But I don't think that's what's happening here. Oh, it actually has happened with the Hasbro Liger Zero as well, but I think a lot of that depends on the condition it's kept in, and I have not really had any issue with yellowing plastic in any of the product lines that I collect, certainly not with Zoids. But yeah, that is definitely a nice point to the realized model version, even though it sort of makes it have an appearance like it's fresh off the assembly line and lacks any weathering or any battle damage or anything like that. But that is a nice clean template for you to go off of if you wanted to implement such a thing on your own garage kit or whatever. Another thing is it does have more detail than the wind-up version. There's little bits of detail right here that are different than on the wind-up version. I like how narrow the snout is and how narrow the cockpit canopy is by extension. I think that's a nice touch on that one. And the cannon looks quite a bit different, where the cannon on the original wind-up version has an exposed cockpit for the gunner. The HMM version and the realized model version have an enclosed cockpit with an actual cover on the canopy there, so the gunner is protected. Now, in terms of the color scheme, I think the realized model version is pretty faithful to the wind-up version, and I almost feel like that's a little bit of a strike against it. I'll go ahead and remove the Godos here. He's like, I'm not part of the club, guys. I want to go home. So if we look at the breakup of the color scheme here, it is white, it is gray, and it is black. Not really a whole lot going on there. The caps are black. Not really a whole lot of exciting things going on there, but that is what the Command Wolf has always looked like. And then the wind-up version, almost dropped his head down. He's missing one of the boosters here, as I've established in that video. Very much the same. You know, most of the molding is gray. There is some black. The cannons are black. The boosters are black. The caps are black. But the HMM version, the most detailed of all, of course, has a couple of different kinds of gray. It's got silver. It's got orange caps, which I actually think the orange caps are a little bit ugly, but that's neither here nor there. And the HMM version does come with a lot of extra features. So the HMM version has this secondary rotating machine gun right here. It's a little Vulcan gun. And it comes with 3 different weapons for the main weapon. It has the 20mm anti-Zoid cannon up here. But it also has the long-range rifle and the AZ cannon. Or the AC cannon, whatever it's called. It also has boosters, so you can basically modulate the HMM version into any version of the Command Wolf that you want. Whereas the realized model version, this version is very simply the default box standard version, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that if they were to, for the sake of cost and saving on parts and molding and things like that, if they were to release another version, which they are planning on doing, the Irvine version, it is going to be new parts, and I'm assuming that Irvine version is only going to include the long-range rifle and not the 20mm cannon, and obviously this one only included this weapon and did not include the long-range rifle. So the big thing I feel like I'm missing from the HMM version that's really nice is the HMM version has these nice gold teeth, which I really think breaks up the look of the head quite a bit here. I think that's an awesome touch. And of course the HMM version has the silver on the boosters to kind of break up the look of that. So the HMM version, to no one's surprise, is the most superior when it comes to details. But the new realized model version here does have, as I talked about in the Hellcat video, because of the ball joints and the way the build is done, it has this nice sturdy, stable feeling where nothing's going to pop off or break. And it is extremely posable and are well articulated, and you can do some really cool things with it. I'm not like afraid to play with this guy and pose him around like I am with the HMM version. And again, just the legs being on ball joints and the waist not being super loose, it really, really helps a lot. Now, and again, I wish there was some more paint to break up some of the paint or different molded in plastic colors to break up the profile of the boosters and the cannon, but that can always be done in post with paint applications if you so choose to. And I think what they're doing here is trying to do their own modernization of the wind-up version and not following any of the design sensibilities of the HMM. This is their template they're going off of. They are modernizing this. They are not looking at this, which is completely fine. Yeah, like I said, his mouth opens and closes. He does have the pilot inside the cockpit there. If I can get it to open, I showed off the pilot on the cannon there. Whatever. I don't think I can get it open. It's too small. That is one of the... Yeah, there we go. And it's got, of course, the control stick that lowers down onto the pilot, just like the original motorized version did. And the tail looks very similar to the original. The tail does not have the sort of redesigned shape that the HMM version does. So one thing I do not like about this version is just how the cannon is articulated. So it moves back and forth, and it does have it's not a ball joint, but it's a little hinge right at the top there, and so it can move down a little bit, and it can move up, but I just wish it could move down further. And I just feel like if that was shaped slightly differently, or if it was on like a ball joint, you could have a better range of motion like this. And so it's fine, but I just wish it could move down further. But the fact that it's articulated and can move up and down is pretty nice. It again adds for a lot of posability that the original wind-up version did not have. So, to no one's surprise, I like this guy quite a bit. I think it is definitely, while obviously the HMM version does have the most amount of detail, the most amount of parts, the most amount of optional pieces, and different features and things like that, it is also one that I am super intimidated to pick up and play with, because the HMMs are fragile and they are better display pieces than anything else. They are complex. They are made for, serious collectors or people that like to do custom painting or whatever. They are the most hardcore Zoids line out there. Whereas I feel like the Realized model line hits a very, very specific sweet spot that appeals to me, as I mentioned in the Hellcat video, where the fact that they do have a somewhat complex build, a more complex build than the motorized or wind-up kits would ever have, but they fill this niche of, like, it doesn't take an eternity to build it. They're small and compact, they're lightweight, they have great articulation, and they're fun to play with, and I just think that goes a very long way. So I do highly recommend them, but I do like the fact that there are so many different iterations of the most iconic Zoids out there, so different strokes for different folks. But yeah, if you guys are interested in picking this guy up, you can find him currently online at several different sites, AmiAmi, HLJ, etc. This guy is pretty easy to come by. Some of the US-based stores as well, I think Big Bad Toy Store and some of the USA Gundam store have these kits in stock, and if you're going to conventions and things like that, they are not hard to find there from your local Gunpla dealer. These guys are going to be pretty easy to find, and I really, really think that that's a huge selling point about them, as well as accessibility. So that does not go underappreciated at all in my eyes. So definitely pick this guy up if you're interested, and I will probably see you guys with probably the Blade Liger. As far as the Realized model line goes, I may get the Blade Liger, and maybe I'll also get the Genosaur. I'm not entirely sure yet. But yeah, I definitely am getting the Trinity Liger, though. That's already been pre-ordered. So other than that, I got a few other things in the pipeline. I've got one of the Advanced Z Zoids I've got to review, and then the next HMM I'm going to be building is still the Genobreaker. So I will have that hopefully eventually. I'll see you guys next time.